She worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday? Once a week?
You got to get everything done in one day.
However, the day she got to sleep late. She used to get up at 8 instead of 7.
Okay. Let's just get the last piece.
You have the last letter?
I'm getting it.
Oh, you're getting it, okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. You're done. You're kosher.
Only God knows, not me. I've done all my part.
That's all you could do.
You guys do that on your own time?
No. I grew up on that hill. Saber. Where were you? Bought a house on Silsby. Then moved to East Silsby. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Get it.
Yeah, I listened to that interview.
I heard some of it yesterday.
Yeah, I heard it yesterday while I was driving.
Pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah.
C'est la vie, c'est la guerre.
So I get to do some work. You want to do Korea?
I do. Are we ready?
Well, by the time you do Korea.
All right.
Ribbons on the left side?
Yep.
So the ribbon tearing is the sign that we are mourning. It's the sign that your heart is torn. This is what we read in the Bible.
Oh, bottom up.
Bottom up. Got it? Got it. When we say a blessing, Baruch, Atah, Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Eloheinu melech haolam, Dayan, Ha'emes. Blessed are you, Lord God, sovereign of the universe, and judge of truth. You're going to wear this ribbon for 7 days so people can see what you stand, right? But they will know that you're a mourner and that your heart is broken and your heart is torn. It's also interesting to think that if you were to try to sew this together, you could do it. You could sew that together, but it would never look the same. It would never be the same. And that's kind of how your heart is. You will go on from today. You will mourn. You will grieve. You will have your lives again. You must get into it. You can't stay back. But it's never going to be the same. That hole will always be there for you. And I hope that your mourning is easy and you're comforted by all the love and all the family and all your friends that you have and that your mother had that share with you their thoughts and memories to help you transfer your grief into joy and happiness. Okay. Thank you.
Couple of minutes. You have to step to the restroom exactly on time.
Okay, so you can start wherever. Ready?
Okay.
Yes.
Good morning and welcome to everybody. Before we begin, I want to welcome those who are joining us virtually as well, who are joining with this family, joining with Janet and Gary, and with Donna, with Jonathan and Sharon, to Sarah and Joe, Julie and Paul, Michael and Catherine, Danny and Rachel, and to Phyllis's very youngest admirers, Kyle, Dylan, Aubrey, and Micah. All of us share deeply in your grief and the hurt of your loss. To honor Phyllis's memory, the family has suggested donations to the Ohio Library of the Blind or to Temple Emmanuel, of which she was a lifelong member. Before I actually begin the service, I'd like to read this letter that we just received from the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland, where Phyllis was an employee for many, many years, and it says, "Dear friends, the administration, board of directors, teachers, staff, and students of the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland wish to express deep felt sympathy to you upon the loss of your beloved mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother Phyllis Cheyfitz of blessed memory. We were deeply saddened to hear of your loss. For over 3 decades, Phyllis was employed by the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland as a beloved secretary in its financial office, and anyone who entered the offices was immediately greeted with a smile and taken by her warmth. With remarkable dedication and with extraordinary dignity and discretion, she treated everyone with respect. Phyllis touched our hearts in so many ways. She went out of her way to help others, but always with her trademark dignity and demeanor. Phyllis will forever be remembered by all of those whose lives she touched. Our thoughts and prayers are with you during this difficult time. We extend our best wishes to you and your family for future happiness, and may you be comforted among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem." There is an ancient and very beautiful legend that tells us how God sent a ministering angel to earth to bring back to God the 3 things which were the most nearly divine objects worthy of a place in heaven. When the angel came to earth, he entered a garden. There he saw a rose in bloom, and thinking it was divinely beautiful, he plucked the rose. Next, he passed a house where, looking into the window, he saw an infant sleeping in a crib. He was struck by the infant's peaceful smile and thought it worthy of a place in heaven. He then flew back and forth over the earth, wondering what the 3rd divine thing should be. Suddenly, he saw a mother devotedly going about her work, and he took the mother's love to heaven. The legend describes how shortly afterwards the rose withered, losing its beauty, and the child, no longer sleeping in content, began to cry. The only thing that remained in heaven as it was on earth was the love of the mother. We know from our experience that the most divine gift we are privileged to enjoy is the love of our mothers, their devotion to our welfare, and their faithfulness to their families. No better summary of Phyllis's life can be than to say that her family consider themselves blessed because she was their mother, their grandmother, a great-grandmother, and a dearest friend. We begin our service now with words from our tradition from Psalm 121, Esa Enai. I lift my voice when all is dark. Into God's hands I place my heart. Piado of Kiruchi, I'm not afraid. Adonai li. I lift my eyes when all is night. When I need help, I seek God's light. Lo echsar Adonai roi. I'm not afraid. Adonai li. Biado of Kiruchi, I'm not afraid. Adonai li. Shiviti Adonai l'negdi tamid ki mimini bal emot. I have set the eternal always before me. God is at my side. I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exult and my soul rejoice. My being is secure, for you will not abandon me to death, nor let your faithful ones see destruction. You show me the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift. Death has taken your beloved Phyllis. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, May they find the presence of loving friends, hear them, O God, and be with them. For Phyllis's love that united us in life, and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path, and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and her mind that brought us joy and happiness, and is now a precious remembrance. For all these things and more, we give our thanks to God. Adonai roi lo echsar, binodeh sheyarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleni, nafshi yeshovev yancheni, v'maglei tzedek למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא ירא רע כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת ושמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה, אך טוב וחסר ירדפוני, כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני, לאורך ימים. The 23rd Psalm teaches us, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. לכל זמן ועת לכל חפץ תחת השמיים, עת ללדת ועת למות, עת לטעת ועת לעקור נטויה. From Ecclesiastes we learn, for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. I'd like to share a few words that I've written in honor of Phyllis. And I thought if one were to look in the dictionary for the meaning of love, I imagine you'd find Phyllis's picture displayed next to the definition. Knowing Phyllis and being part of her life, her love, her unconditional and genuine love, it was woven into the very fiber of who she was. Love enveloped her simply by being an incredibly kind and sincere human being, and all that love that she received, she gave back 100-fold. Phyllis was born and raised here in Cleveland in the Kinsman area and graduated from John Hay High School, and it was there at a high school dance party that Phyllis Weingartner first set eyes upon the handsome Nathan Cheyfitz. While I can't vouch that it was love at first sight, I can tell you that Phyllis, herself no shy wallflower, and noticing that there were no available seats, she walked right up to Nathan and sat right down in his lap. A bit brazen? Perhaps. But it worked. And not long after, they were married at the temple, shared 58 years together, and raised their children, Janet and Donna and Jonathan, and even nephew Dave, as one loving family. Although Phyllis never herself had the opportunity to go to college, her wisdom on life far exceeded what she may have found in any classroom. She valued education and made certain that her children would receive both secular and Jewish education that included B'nai Mitzvah and confirmation classes. And though Dave recalled that he started out as an average student, and she admonished him about a C+ he had gotten on a report card, it was way below her standards. Thanks to Phyllis's encouragement, he never forgot that early lesson, which moved him to work much harder, improve his grades, and afforded him a scholarship to university where he eventually received an engineering degree. Janet and Donna and Jonathan all agreed in that their house on Tullamore with the big front porch was the cool house, where all their friends and neighborhood kids wanted to gather and hang out because they had the kindest and most welcoming mom. It's amazing to believe that Phyllis had any time for entertaining the kids' friends while working full-time as an administrative assistant to Rabbi Lefkowitz at Hebrew Academy, where she not only did the administrative work, she was in charge of the federal food program, and she was the gatekeeper for her boss's office. She monitored who could come in and who could not. She was very detailed-oriented and skilled at shorthand, and she used her skills not only professionally, but in helping transcribe all the kids' favorite songs from the records they listened to, records, not CDs, so they could articulate those words and belt out the songs. She kept very busy on Sundays while she made her shopping lists, organizing weekly menus, meals that did not have much variety from week to week, but she prepared sumptuous family dinners every day, 6 o'clock, including hamburger pie. Thursday was burgers, Friday was brisket, Saturday hot dogs, and Sunday grilled steaks, always well done. As if raising a family and working outside of the home, cooking, cleaning, and ironing in front of the TV wasn't enough, Phyllis enjoyed a vibrant social life, active in B'nai B'rith, with loads of friends with whom she lunched, played mahjong, bridge, and canasta, and spent hours on the kitchen phone with, cords stretched out to the max, talking to friends, helping those in need, and planning their next outing. The entire family did enjoy a yearly trip to Maryland to visit Aunt Tybee and Sid, and a summer trip to a cottage in Pymatuming, which wasn't exactly much of a vacation for Phyllis, for she had to pack everything: pots, pans, food, dishes, clothes, and schlep it all out to the cottage. Aside from the sweltering cabin, lack of air conditioning, and swarms of mosquitoes, I guess it was quite a wonderful family trip. Phyllis actually cared about the environment long before it was a popular theme. As Jonathan recalled, while he ate watermelon on the front steps, he threw his rinds out into the street. Phyllis wasn't having it, and she insisted that he pick them up. His refusal was her cue to go and get them, and threw them right back at him. And I'm certain, Jonathan, that your lesson was learned. You never did it again. Good boy. With her children growing up and finding mates of their own, she and Nathan were blessed with the greatest gift, that of grandchildren. Julie recalled her grandma coming to Delaware and taking her out to the Pizza Villa buffet. Phyllis ate slowly, but continuously, absolutely getting her money's worth out of a $4.99 buffet special. She relished being with her family, and especially the grandchildren, and her gift for her 50th wedding anniversary with Nate was treating the entire family to a cruise in the Bahamas. She stayed up and partied till the wee hours of the night with her grandkids, each one, especially Michael, who recalled playing games, playing cards, and snacking with her. Sarah remembered how Grandma shut down her wedding while eating sandwiches and talking until 2 a.m. Now, Phyllis was known to be a late sleeper, and now you can see why. She loved music, she loved laughter, and singing traditional American songs to her grandchildren before bed. In fact, everything that she experienced in her long and full life was filled with great passion and joy. Phyllis maintained a positive, uncomplaining and optimistic attitude even while her health declined in her later years. And while quarantining at Wiggins for the past year, she stayed optimistic. She always found a way to enjoy life, to love unconditionally, and be grateful for all of her very many blessings. Her life was truly whole only when she was surrounded simply by the love of the most important people, her family. Gary recalled that he will forever miss the time spent together, especially at the holidays. Passover and Rosh Hashanah, sitting around the holiday table, were such wonderful memories that he shared. And I'm sure all of you have many special stories and memories that you created along life's journey with her. And now I've been asked to share just a few of the special memories that were written by her family with all of you. Danny's wife, Rachel. Danny and I have been together for almost 11 years. When we first started dating, I was nervous about meeting the family, especially the grandma, who I understood was the light of Danny's eyes. I knew Danny not only loved his mom, but his grandma as well, and I wanted to be sure that I had their approval. One day I was over at Danny's house, and the family showed up to move furniture. Everyone seemed excited to meet me, and I instantly felt welcomed. I knew this family had huge hearts, and soon learned that it was how they were raised by Grandma Phyllis. I was always excited to spend time with Grandma. She is so loving, caring, and smart. She loved meals cooked by Danny, especially his guacamole. We would stay for hours chatting, trying new beers that Danny homebrewed, or simply sipping on gin and tonics. There's a theme here. They would always try to teach me some new card games. One of our first nights with Grandma, we got Thai food and went to see Avenue Q. It was one of the best nights out, and Grandma loved it. Who would have thought that a grandma would like a raunchy puppet musical? But that was Phyllis. Her wit and her willingness to have a good time was always something I admired. She made me part of the family, and I will never forget her for that. We enjoyed her visits in Florida, where we could drink gin and tonics by the pool, or go to Pia's, and she would enjoy her mussels and linguine. Wherever she was always happy to be spending time with people. It feels like I just met her. I want one more adventure and one more late-night card game or rummy cube. However, I will always know that she is around for me to talk to or to help me from time to time. I will lift my gin and tonic to her. Julie wrote, "When I was growing up, she was Grandma Phyllis to me. But since my first son Kyle was born almost 11 years ago, we have called her Bubby. My husband's name is Paul. My children, 3 of Phyllis's 4 great-grandchildren, and Kyle, 10 years old, and my twins Aubrey and Dylan are 5. We all loved her so much, and we have missed her throughout the COVID year, and will greatly miss her from now on. She was a very special lady and a wonderful grandmother and a great-grandmother." Her granddaughter Sarah recalled, "My grandmother was immensely loved by all who knew her. She was an extremely positive, non-judgmental, accepting, and loving person who never had a bad word to say about anyone. She was always expressing gratitude for her life, even during hard times and her last year during COVID. She didn't have a homophobic bone in her body. My partner Joe said when she met my grandmother for the very first time, my grandmother grabbed her and hugged her and told her that she loved her. When my grandfather's mother could no longer take care of his youngest sibling, she took him into her home and raised him as her own. All of my holiday memories are filled with her cooking. She made the best brisket and her own gefilte fish. You didn't tell me that. I'd like the recipe. But most of all, she created a warm and loving family for all who needed it. She always supported my flair for sexy dressing and leopard prints, telling me, if you got it, flaunt it. I am very grateful that she was able to meet my 6-month-old son, Micah, a few months ago. He immediately took to her and snuggled up against her. and I'm so saddened that I can't be there to bury her due to COVID. I love her so much. My grandmother gave me truly unconditional love, and I will miss her so greatly. I'm going to ask Michael to come up and share his words with us now.
My grandma was an outstanding lady, full of warmth and love, care and compassion, always willing to listen if you could talk loud enough for her to hear, quick with a laugh and a glowing smile. She had a heart full of love, love that she shared with her family and her friends. Her love brought us together and brings us together today. Phyllis was a matriarch in the truest sense of the word. A linchpin that held our family together and a strong connection to our roots. She used her hands to pass down traditions. From lighting the Shabbat candles to shaping gefilte fish and twisting teglach, she shared these with me and more. When I was small, she held my hand to keep me close. And as I grew older and towered over her, I would hold her hand to keep her steady. Holding hands was a way she showed us her unconditional love. When my wife and I got married, Phyllis joined us under the chuppah made of my grandfather and great-grandfather's talit. She held our hands together and recited the Shechechianu, and she stole the show. She lived in love every day, in every gesture, in every hand held. She made our lives better by being in it, and may her memory be a blessing.
Thank you, Michael. Before I read some words from Janet, I want to share that also we were very blessed to have Phyllis at Temple Emmanuel, of course, but when I came to Wiggins to be their cantor for about the past 8 years, Phyllis was a resident there, and she would come to services every month that we had the Reform service. Rabbi Roberts and I would do them together. She was always there in the same spot. She came in a little late, couple minutes, but we always saw there's Phyllis. She came in, she took her seat in the back. We'd always run to offer her the prayer book, but I didn't realize at that time that it was very hard for her to see it. So she always said no, but you could always see her bopping along with the music and really enjoying the service. And she really made it a wonderful, meaningful service for me too, just to see her there, to see her participating and enjoying. And I'm going to miss seeing her when I go back into the building there again. So. Finally, Janet, you shared with me, I have to say that I always felt so loved by my mother. She valued education for her children, and I always felt encouraged to do my best at school. This encouragement always came without pressure, only love. But more than that, she showed me by example how to be a kind and loving person, a tolerant person, and one without judgment. I wish I had inherited her ability to make friends. She was so sociable and had so many friends, and all the family members loved her. I was so much more introverted. And one day when I complained to her about how much I dreaded going to big get-togethers and dreaded the small talk, she said she was the same way. But I never believed her for a minute. And she hid it very well. She also had an amazing social life, and as we said last night on Zoom together when we talked, it was difficult to find her at home. In the last years of her life, I found myself just drawn to her aura. I looked forward to our days when I would drive up to Cleveland, and time would slow down, and I would savor every moment that I still had with her. I would make that 2-hour drive, knowing her smile and sweetness were waiting for me when I arrived. I would marvel at her positive outlook on life, in spite of her worsening blindness, her deafness, and her memory loss. And at the end of our day, we would enjoy the Wiggins cocktail hour together. Again, the cocktails. Donna will especially miss the times that she spent with her mother, reading the latest books aloud to her as her vision faded, up until her very last day. The book, which was the life of Phyllis Cheyfitz, is now complete. But the entries that she made into the living volumes of her family, her friends, and all who knew and loved her will continue to influence and inspire and guide them in the days, the months, and the years ahead. May she now rest in peace, as we all say, Amen. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we'll remember Phyllis. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will certainly remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember her. When we have joys that we yearn to share, we will remember her. So long as we live, Phyllis too shall live, for she is a part of all of us as we remember her. An ancient people, we are well acquainted with grief and with the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us, yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave and that there is strength in faith. With Job we say, Adonai Natan, God, you have given us. You gave us a loved one who will not be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in her life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai Lakach, now God, you have taken her away. We pray for the strength to turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust before which we acknowledge your sovereignty and your love, as we say, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach, blessed be the name of God, now and forever. I ask you please to rise now for El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Mamromim, Hamtzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Shechina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim, Kezor Harakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Tzipora Bad Mordechai Ve'etel Shalcha Le'olama, Bal Rachamim Yastireha B'seter Kenafav Le'olamim, Bitzror Chaim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava, V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Phyllis Cheyfitz, daughter of Milton and Ethel, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. That concludes the service here in the chapel. And we will continue on to Mount Olive Cemetery for the burial.
go from there to the cemetery. Oh, I have shiver candles pretty well too. If you want to wait here, I'll give you those and you can each take it.
That was beautiful. It's great, yeah.
All right.
You had good
Three candles. You get the shiver candles.
so much. It was nice that you incorporated everybody.
Back, Father. Jake, you get Father back. Okay. Here you go. When you get home, you can say Mother's name, light the candle, we'll burn for 7 days, do not blow it out. I'm also going to give you acknowledgement cards.
Very brave of Michael. I wasn't going to attempt it. I can see her. I'm standing here in services. She's always there.
I'm going to give you each a box. You got it. Mom is active in the community. Make it a lot to this cottage for the cemetery. Now, if you exit to the right, please turn your heaters on in your car. Cold. All right.
You just say turn your lights on.
Let's today turn your heaters on. Don't stick out here, but do it.